Test. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure it was working before we moved on here. Yeah, I'm muted. Sorry, I was fixing my camera because for some reason it keeps resetting its like perspective almost every stream. It's rather frustrating, to say the least. Trying to like fix it now. I think that's it. Anyway. So basically my camera, the last 3 streams, has reset its perspective every time. So it's not at the right zoom and the right cropping, but I can fix it really quick. It's just frustrating when it happens, you know? Okay, we're good to go here. Sorry, I was just double checking one last thing on this stream PC. Let's see, on my stream PC, there is one problem. The green screen is also needs to be set. Just color is off. There we go. Better. It should not be resetting. It should have its settings saved and configured from when I got them all fine-tuned. I'm hoping nothing's wrong with it. I'll double check it again later, but for now, not much I can do. I'll see if there's any updates for it and stuff like that. It does. It looks good now, so we good to go. Again, sorry for that weirdness, but hey, here we are. Let's make sure we've got video and everything on Twitch, TikTok, and all the feeds. Sorry about that delay there. We're good to go on all feeds, it looks like. Fantastic. Rad fantabulous. Okay. How's everyone's week? How's your weekend going thus far? It does both on YouTube, actually. If you go to our main page, you can pick either or. Atlam. So if you look, there should be 2 streams on our feed on YouTube, and you can pick either one. Here, I'll show you. When you look at our YouTube, there's a vertical and a non-vertical. I've been getting feedback that some people want a vertical stream there because they offer it now, and I can dual there, both of them simultaneously, so why not? It's really just offering options to our community. So, because of shorts on YouTube, trying to be like TikTok or Reels or whatever on Instagram, it essentially is they're offering vertical streaming options for mobile platforms. And so mobile viewers, a lot of younger viewers prefer to watch in a vertical format. But you can watch in either or. Both streams are available. Look at MetaMac. Anyway, it's just me just trying to be a community manager of the people. Just trying to offer options. Macception, yes, exactly. So, how is everyone's week? What you been up to? Did you get any session prep done, or have you been gaming this week? Let's hear about it. And fix this one more time. Kind of aimed in a weird way that I just don't like. I think I finally got it. Okay, we're good. I felt like I was leaned to this side just the littlest bit, so now we're more centered. And that's, I think the monitor was moving. A couple of things. Getting away. Okay. My monitors have like a lot of movement to them, and sometimes I'll like bump them or I'll move things around, or my cat will get up here and mess stuff up. So I have to like fix it. Anyone get any gameplay in this week or planning to this weekend? I would love to hear about it. Any tabletop type stuff. Heck, doesn't even have to be D&D or tabletop gaming. We could just talk about regular like board games or video games, card games, if any of y'all are playing that stuff too. Session prep, finalize some details for a map bundle donation I'm going to be making for a stream next month. Nice, dude. Do you have like a stream schedule set up now? Where you stream regularly? So I found this map on the Steam Workshop, the Sailor Yugoth build, if you didn't know already. And Sailor Yugoth is really, really clever. It's called Dark Dwarf Corp. Let me get the link for it. 1 second. Stand by. Just snagged the link for it. Yoink. There it is. Can you share that everywhere else, Atlam? Except for Steam, I'd probably be wary. No, actually, Steam's probably the safest place to save it because it's a Steam file. Or it's a Steam link, so it's like directed right to their website. It's really cool, Rev. Let me know when you're going to be streaming so I could check it out. Are you streaming the build or like a campaign? But I was looking for underground maps, and this one's called Dark Dwarf Corp offices. So I figured that's kind of like it's kind of a neat spin on a first off, you know, a dwarf kind of build, but having it be a corporate dwarf headquarters is pretty neat. You've got, you know, like a little break room area with food. You've got a boardroom here. You've got different offices. Really enjoy this kind of center reception area with like the big like kind of centerpiece, and the ground tiling is done so amazingly. So how he did this, by the way, to have different color tile, it's actually kind of straightforward. What he did is he generated a room within the room. So essentially this is, you know, just another room. As you see here, it's trying to fill in those spaces. But when generated, they removed all the objects and the walls, windows, doors, so it's just floor, right? So this section here is considered a separate room than this section over here. But that's a great way to split the tiling up into different colors. Not sure how he did that part. Well, either way, he figured it out. But as you could see, like these sections here are a different color, and you could see where they meet up with the other sections, like clearly meet up with it. But I could go through and find, say, a different color floor if I wanted to. Let's look at tile. Let's do a white. Isn't that pretty neat there? Hey, how you doing? Revealing too much? Welcome, welcome. Oh man, I'm just noticing my camera's just the littlest off stuff. Which way is it? That way. We're gonna fix it. This is your first time seeing Dungeon Alchemist? Excuse me. Well, welcome to the stream, and welcome to the community. My name is Mac. I'm actually the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. This is the official channel. We host several streams a week where we provide real-time support, showcase community, shared maps and 3D models. We have map making contests, etc. But one thing I wanted to let you know, Dungeon Alchemist related, is we actually offer a demo on Steam, so you could try it for free before you buy. And I actually got confirmation that we will be participating in the Steam summer sale in a few days. So if you're looking to buy, in a few days, it might be the best possible price you can get. Excuse me. Get a sip of water here. Oh, you just installed the demo or the full version? Okay. So if you can hold off on the purchase for a few days, you can get a deal, right? I would rather you save the money if you want, you know what I mean? As long as you can, patiently wait. Now, that being said, kind of moving on, if you have any questions related to Dungeon Alchemist, these streams are AMA format, which means ask me anything. It's like you are tuning in for like a class or a lecture, and you can ask questions, and I will, answer them and show you in real time how to do things, or to, address your issue in real time. But I hope you enjoyed the demo. Keep in mind it is a demo. It's just a small slice of the overall kind of big picture. It's only one biome, which is the forest biome, and it gives you the ability to build a tavern. And then you can export it for your platform of choice, whether it is you want to print it, or you want to, and export it as a JPEG or a video loop, or a TV tabletop, or maybe you do virtual tabletops like Roll20, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds. We offer exports for all the big major virtual tabletops, and Universal VTT, which covers several dozen tabletops now. Hey, Primal Edge Design, how you doing, bud? Welcome back. But this map here, you use Roll20, nice. Are you guys using Roll20 Pro or Plus, like one of the higher paid tiers, or a basic tier? Oh, nice. So One thing, because Roll20 is like they offer a free tier, but they also offer a paid tier. But the paid tier is where they give you access to their script library, right? Which, you know, is like mods, essentially plugins. And that's, while our maps work in the basic one just fine, which this doesn't apply to you really, I'm just letting everyone know. Just the image would be there. Whereas in the, if you export and use the script in the virtual tabletop or the paid version for Roll20, it will give you access to not only the map, but the line of sight for like walls, windows, doors, etc. And then also all the lighting. I'm hoping we can also soon integrate some sort of foreground layer support, because that's a new thing available on Roll20. Hey AJ, how you doing? Keith, it works really well in Foundry for you. I'm glad to hear it. Which virtual tabletop does y'all use? Let's hear from the community. Or if you don't use a virtual tabletop, let's hear how you play. Is it in person, like a printed map? The map is called Dark Dwarf Corp. Can you drop the link in YouTube for AJ? This one's made by Sailor Yugoth, and it's an absolutely astounding map. Very beautiful, well done, just top-notch build. So we've got Fantasy Grounds. Hey, Disturbed Rick, how you doing? Yeah, it definitely speeds it up quite a bit. There may be a handful of instances where you have to, you know, do a wall here and there by hand, but it'll definitely remove about 99% of it. I'm good, Rick. I'm good. Appreciate you being here. I honestly just have, you know, just getting my weekend started. And things are kind of cooking in the background as we're getting very close to the next update. I can't reveal a date yet, but I just am going to let you know that very soon I'll be revealing information relevant to the reveal streams. Every time we release a new major patch, major update, stretch goal, from our Kickstarter, we do several reveal streams leading up to the launch of it, which is a great way for our community to see what we've been working on and how it's working in its current state, and what will be available when it launches. So very, 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 very soon, I'll be announcing those dates in our Discord and on our social media. Ark, you used to use Roll20 and now you're Foundry. Gotcha. Oh, sorry. That is kind of, yeah, your name is the thing we're talking about, huh? Hey, Octane Jimmy, thank you so much for that sub on YouTube. Much appreciated. Okay, so we do what is called a reveal stream every time we release a major update. So Dungeon Alchemist was conceived as a Kickstarter project, and it had, you know, I think, was it 13, 14 stretch goals as part of the Kickstarter that were all realized. And those have been pretty much the roadmap for our development during early access. One of the major updates, Fun with Objects, is launching relatively soon. So it's a great time to be joining the community, because not only will you be, you know, getting Dungeon Alchemist on a deal in a few days when it's on sale in the Steam Summer Sale, but you'll also be joining when we're adding multi-level structures and roofing through the room generation tool. Also underground building through the room generation tool. So it's going to be very, very interesting. We do have like a cave biome where you can build underground, but now you'll be able to build underground in any biome and have like a substructure, sewers, catacombs, cellars, secret, you know, underground ritual spaces. So Disturbed Rick just asks, cool, does this update be functional on will this update be functional on older maps like the second story up, or will we have to start a new map? So Rick, I've got some very sad news, unfortunately. This is the first update in our history of Dungeon Alchemist. I mean, we've done like 10 major stretch goals prior to this, right? Or 9. And this is the first one that will not be fully backwards compatible. So what will happen is you'll still be able to open old maps. You'll still be able to edit them and export them, because we would hate for all the work on the Steam Workshop or all the work you have from your past maps to be useless. Still be able to open, edit them, play with them, but you will not be able to add multi-level structures to them using the room tool. You would still have to build them by hand using objects, i.e. the old-fashioned way, roll up your sleeves, you know what I mean? So there's this new UI element that appears over here, right? And it shows the multi-level stuff, and it'll be locked on old maps. It'll have a lock on icon on it, kind of just indicating that you're in a legacy mode. So many objects, so many aspects of DA in its like base infrastructure and foundation were changed to support multi-level, that it essentially it's just not viable to make all of it backwards compatible. Hey, thank you, Robert, for the kind words. I appreciate that. Secret tunnel. I like that there's this like lift back here that's from some deep underground space. Like you could see it just slanting off into the background. I like those industrial lift type things. This looks like it'd be a level where it just goes down and you have to fight guys as they randomly appear from the shadows and jump on the lift. AJ, while I'm not really happy that you pirated it, the fact that you turned around and supported us means the world to me. Shoot, I didn't even know people pirated DA. Honestly, though, that's kind of neat that you flipped the script and ended up supporting us, because like I hear a lot of people typically just pirate things and then that's it. I understand certain media people, there's certain things that's like lost media. It makes sense. And things that are like in some countries, a movie may cost as much as rent. Like, I feel bad for those situations. Anyway, I'm not singling you out, AJ. It's just like, we are a small indie company. So like, definitely piracy can affect us. No, it's no worries though. By the way, I appreciate that, like letting me know and stuff, but I just had to use it as a teachable moment. Like, I understand piracy at its core and why people do it. And like, I think there are certain situations where it's like kind of reasonable. So, I mean, like for instance, we didn't offer a demo for a long time. So essentially, you were able to demo Dungeon Alchemist that way, right? Though I worry when you download pirated material, what you might be exposing your computer to. You know, I'm not sure that Roll20 supports animated maps yet. Do they? Can someone who uses Roll20 confirm? Is it stock they offer animated maps now, or is it or they do, but they have such a small file size. I think they recently upped that though, made it a bit larger. So it is possible as long as you can export and get the map, like within the file size. I don't think we have an animated export within the Roll20 menu, but what you could do is export the map as a still like map first, from the Roll20 menu, and then just go into, here, I'll show you. Under the export menu, you go to export, and then set it to Roll20, export it the first time, right? This would just be a still map, but it would also include the script, which has all the lighting, walls, everything. That's important. Then you go into the video export, and then export it as, it'd probably be WebM is the best, or, you know, I guess MP4 is situational because it only goes up to a certain resolution. Otherwise, though, WebM is kind of scales infinitely resolution because some maps are like huge or weird proportions. Anyway, so you could do WebM, very slow, low quality WebM actually kind of makes it smaller, and then even that can be compressed, so you can try compressing it after if it's not small enough. I'm good. Wolfie, how are you? Hey, Mom, what's the matter with Wolfie? Hey, Bella, how you doing? No, see, AJC, like, I get that. And honestly, we've actually tried hard to adjust our prices in regions like where, you know, currency is somewhat inflated or whatever, to adjust, because we've been reached out to by different people who are like, hey, I would like to buy Dungeon Alchemist, but it costs me as much as like 3 months rent. We're like, what? So we started researching that and found that we could adjust the prices by region a little bit. And in some regions, we've adjusted it to compensate. Hey, Bane, what up? But yeah, revealing you'd essentially put the video with the script that you got from the Roll20 export, kind of merge the two. If it will support an animated map that's small enough, like file size, then yeah. I think that's the only major limitation with Roll20 is they just kind of have file size limits that are unattainable if you are trying to do an animated map over a certain size. So if it's a smaller map, it'll likely work. Well, you could export from the demo, so you could try it and see if you could get it to work. Yeah, we try to, you know, we realize y'all are people, and like it's hard to like survive this day and age, because like, man, not only is like, you know, everyone's dollar not going as far, but everything is kind of going up in price, and we'd rather kind of go contrasting to that. Anyway, moving on from that discussion. This map is something else. As much as I've loved spending time in it, I think we should move on to another one, though. It's been about 30 minutes in this map. Bella, what's going on in your world? How's things at Fantasy Grounds? Witchgate, this one right here. Necrotic Gate. That is likely under doors. There it is. It might be under special. No, let's find it. We're gonna find it. Under double. Big boy. Yeah, there it is. Under double doors. Yep, found it. I really hope we kind of reorganize this someday. It's a very neat door. Doing well. Today was the monthly game day. That's awesome. How'd it go? Bane, what you been up to? Troublemaker? Find us a new map. Oh, nice. I did not. Oh, you know, it is. You know what? You're right. Dang, that's cool. Another one I like is Free Comic Book Day. So many different rule sets to try out. Right? I'm kind of getting to that point where my brain doesn't have it much space for like new rule sets or new video games. I kind of just stick to the ones I like. You know what I mean? So many to just like different rule sets and games and card games. And Daggerheart treating you good? That's good to hear. Here, let's I subscribed to another map earlier that I thought was interesting. Where is it? Oh, this is like a Fallout map. Anyone else trying out Daggerheart? And if you are, I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Always interested in feedback on these new systems. I get that, Bella. Man, it's hard enough for me to keep one game going a month. So I just why I do my best to stick with the things I know. So this is a Fallout themed map. The creator downloaded a bunch of assets from the workshop that could fit in a setting like this and started putting them in there. Hey, Sack, how you doing, buddy? Hope you're feeling better, man. 4 weekly? Oh my gosh, I would forget everything. I'd be like, wait, which character is this again? It really is revealing. The biggest bad of all is time and scheduling, right? The one table I play on right now, we meet up once a month because it's hard to get us all on the same day any other time than that. You know what? I just noticed I missed a follow earlier. Pathfinder 214th. Thank you so much for the follow. Pathfinder 214th. That's what it was. Not 214th. I'm sorry. But thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. I seem to run in the same rogue every time. Every time we have just a solid rogue, it's the same rogue. I've had pretty good luck with bards, though, so can't complain there. So it's a combo between, is this Metro or is it Fallout? Is it Metro Last Light, which would have a subway? That makes sense. Like the Metro franchise is kind of a nuclear Fallout situation, not necessarily Fallout. Hey, Gamroot, glad you're here. Oh, different flavor of rogues is what you play on your characters. Gotcha. How did you do that? So they all just different subclasses, or are you playing them like different RP? Gotta hear about this, Bella. I like this a lot. Very well done. I like a map that utilizes the workshop and really puts out something a little bit different than the normal vibe. Just a reminder to those that use Dungeon Alchemist regularly, but also those who are new. When you have a full copy of Dungeon Alchemist, you can access the Steam Workshop repository. So you can click on this tab here and browse maps or assets that have been shared by our community. So there's over 9,800 3D models that expand the collection of stock assets and give you a whole, different, theme if you want, aesthetic, or just plenty more assets in a fantasy setting. So the Fallout stuff with these computers and safes and Nuka-Cola, that stuff's definitely from the workshop, or they uploaded it themselves. but that would not be something we would have stock in Dungeon Alchemist. Hey, Julia, how you doing? I do think it's Fallout because it has Nuka-Cola here, so... I think they just... It says Subway, like, also kind of as a Metro thing. When I first read it, I wasn't sure if it was a Fallout or a Metro game map. Fallout, and both Metro and Fallout games are fun. They're very good. Man, I don't even know how I would be able to keep up with that. That's impressive, Bella. If you ever get a chance to get them, like, snag them. There's several games, so it's like a whole franchise, but I think it's been around for like 20, 30 years now. Very good games. You know, Julia, that's a good question. I think, hopefully, in either the Fun with Objects Part 1 update or the Fun with Objects Part 2 update, we will be adding a kind of group select option. The Fun with Objects update Part 1 is hopefully launching very soon. You know, sometime in July is the intention at the moment. So if it's in that, though, I have yet to see it because I have a dev build that I've been testing and I don't see it in that. So it might have been scooched to Part 2. But Part 1 will come with a lot of cool stuff in the interim. Multi-level roofing, universal object scaling, abstract or invisible lighting, so you can cast lighting in areas, but the lighthouse, like that is casting the light is invisible on export or in cinematic modes. A whole bunch of stuff is coming in the next update. Hundreds of new objects, many of which have like lots of customizable options. But I do understand what you want to do. To group objects and maybe copy them and paste them, or to move them as a group would be a very powerful tool. And it makes sense in a map maker like Dungeon Alchemist. Though I think the reason we don't currently have it is just early access woes, so to speak. Often when I find myself getting frustrated with things in Dungeon Alchemist being missing or not having a certain aspect of something that another tool has, I just remind myself that we are in early access and there's going to be those weird, quirky things missing from time to time. So a couple of things in our next update that will definitely help speed up map making. Let me see what I can find. Stand by. How you doing, Donk Blankenstein, over on TikTok? Let me show you a few like roofing images. You all can see how the roofing will kind of look in the next update. And this is just a small sample of roofing from the next update. Multi-level. So this shows you kind of how you can transition between rooms or multi-level. So there is this little icon here on the top right that I'm now highlighting with my mouse cursor in the video and separately, but it allows you to click the UI and jump between levels. Alternatively, you can use the plus and minus keys on your keyboard to jump between levels or add a new level. So if you have the first level made, you press plus, it jumps up to the next level, allowing you to draw a new floor on that. You will be able to do things like balconies, outdoor areas, indoor areas, mezzanines where you can look down on lower floors from the inside, but there'll be an assortment of flat roofing and angled roofing. Kind of like domes, sharp angles, straight angles. Gonna be fun. Abstract lighting is one of the features I'm most excited for. We do have this to an extent thanks to contributions from amazing, asset creators in our community. Sack shared a whole mess of lights that are essentially invisible. They're down to like the size of a dime, and they can cast all these different colors, but you don't really see the light. So our community wanted something like that was stock and would be truly invisible, and our devs got to work and made several options. So there is a lantern and a spot lamp, or a spotlight version, and you can change the colors of them, the brightness, and you can place them all over, and then upon export, the lighthouse of it, these little guys here, they're invisible, just like you see in this clip right there. It's going to be very cool. Yeah, I like to think because of SAC, this kind of feature is being added because like the devs got showed up by an asset on the workshop that could do something they hadn't done in Dungeon Alchemist stock. So they kind of, had to do it, right? You kind of forced their hand, so to speak, I'd say. Zach, what is the feature you're most excited for in the next update? Stand by. Batch exporting. Yeah, I could see how that would be the one you're most excited for. So, batch exports are essentially a new variation of exporting that allows you to set up a bunch of configurations for your map exports, right? So a lot of people, at least just, a lot of DMs in our community will export at least at minimum like 1 to 4 versions of their maps. Usually, like a still and an animated. Like when I do an animated map, I like to export a still version as well as a backup. That way, if one of my players is having trouble loading into the animated version, I just load into the other scene that's the still maps to save time, so we don't waste an hour trying to figure it out, and we can just keep playing, right? So that's kind of a pro tip from me. But also a lot of maps you may revisit at different times, like maybe you go in the morning, maybe afternoon, evening, night. Or maybe in the winter time when there's snow. All of these things can be changed and kind of exported and configured in that way. So you can export one after another, after another, after another in a batch, and it just comes out with all the maps you wanted for your game. Now, this is actually kind of more geared towards the creators in our community who do commission work, Patreon, stuff like that. Because many times, Sack said, what is it? You do up to like 90 plus versions of a map. Wow. Because you export for Roll20, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, all of them. You do morning, afternoon, evening, night, gridded, gridless of all of those, So it's like, yeah, it adds up really quick. Exponentially, I'd imagine. So, Chim, I don't know if tilt on the X, Y, and Z axis will be in Fun with Objects 1 for sure, because I haven't seen it yet. And the thing about that is, we're kind of in the testing phase right now, looking for bugs and fixing them. I don't think they're adding anything else at this point. So, for Fun with Objects 1, which means that we're getting really close to the release of Fun with Objects 1, but things like that will likely be in the part 2. So essentially and this is actually an older version of the batch exporter. It got a little bit of a facelift since this. Anyway. Alrighty. Gonna close this one. Let's open up another videos, shall we? I really like showcasing the stuff from the next update because there's so much cool stuff in it. This particularly multi-level is so fire. Got my poster and okay. So this is actually a new room type in the update called Wonky. And in this, they made a Wonky Tavern. So it just looks like it's a bunch of reclaimed wood or wood that they, scrapped pile stuff that they just got wherever and made something out of it. Is like a ramshackle type build. It could be great for like a slum or, that kind of stuff. I even see it as like kind of primitive goblin, koboldy type stuff. Just look at how everything's just kind of hammered together. And definitely not very uniform. Anyway, moving on from that. As you can see in this video, there's quite a few different things in action. Multi-level, so the base level is actually the top floor where you enter in from outside. And then you're on a balcony where you can see down below and see all this area. You go down the stair, and boom, you're in the bar area. Up above, it's like kind of maybe people hang out and lean over the edge. I wouldn't recommend it. But I do see this as kind of a prototype for like the traditional sort of tavern or inn or, like a bar in an old Western type situation where the top floor has like a balcony and a bunch of rooms attached to it. And then down below, you could see all the tables and the benches and chairs and stools and the bar and people hanging out. So you can kind of get a lay of the land from above. Though typically the ground floor is the bar, and then you walk up like a staircase onto a mezzanine looking down below with all the rooms attached. Add categories. Interesting. I mean, it's an interesting idea. Though I often wonder how that would work out. One thing that we could maybe add instead of that would be the option to make, instead of just favorites, like, I don't know, if favorites was broken down into like subcategories where you could have several options, you know what I mean? Like different palettes or whatever, might allow people to organize a few different options themselves. I don't know. Though I do like the idea, I worry that in the asset importer, if you're adding a new category, right? And I get what you're saying here. You would want something like a new one here. The problem is when you do that, you guys and gals will start exponentially adding new, more and more categories to DA, right? Which we, A, would need art for. B, somewhere it need to be organized and kind of in this structure somewhere, right? And then C, that adds that category to everyone who downloads that asset. So if they download, say, a ton of new categories, their DA categories section in the object browser would start getting crazy. I mean, okay, so there are categories in the asset importer that you can put things into, right? So you're saying you want to be able to create a new one, a new category. Oh, Asmo, I'm so lost. Okay, do you want to be able to export multiple assets at the same time? You want to create a category in here. And where would this category be on the other end after it's published? I'm in the publish assets. See where it says publish assets? Oh, right here? You want to break these into categories. Gotcha. So maybe that they would have like maybe that it could be a group, and then they have like a way to open them, expand them, and contract them, so you could contract categories. Okay, man. So we do have categories that you can apply to them, and that's why I was confused. Like, there are categories that you can apply to objects, but it doesn't sort them over here like that. It would be cool if it sorted them in the category they're in, or even just A to Z would be great. And then you could close, you know, A and close B, or jump from A to B, or jump from, you know, all the way down to S by clicking on a letter. Isn't there like a hotkey to automatically scroll that you can just push? I can't remember what it is. In Windows, there's a scroll hotkey. Stand by. Seem to work. Anyway. But yeah, by the way, what we're looking at here is the asset importer, which is how people share assets on the Steam Workshop. They'll create assets and then put them in the asset importer, which supports STL, FBX, or GLTF/GLB files. It's a great way to add things that aren't currently in Dungeon Alchemist, or to add some personal objects that are kind of specific to your campaign story. And that's how things like sci-fi, Fallout, extra steampunk stuff, and even like, you know, some cyberpunk things are now on the workshop. That's how they were shared, was through this importer right here. So you import the 3D model, and then you set up the name and information for it, search words, templates, information relevant to it, and then you set it in a category. Give it colliders, which is essentially the invisible wall around it that kind of tells Dungeon Alchemist how big it is and if it's solid or not. And then lastly, you set it to public if you want to share it, or private if you just want it kind of backed up in the cloud for yourself, friends if it's just friends. And then you give it a description and then upload it. That'll share it on the Steam Workshop for all to use. Now, I recommend if you're uploading assets that aren't your own, make sure that they are Creative Commons, meaning that they can be shared in this capacity. Creative Commons is a license type where the user usually is fine with you sharing it as long as it's not for resale and you credit them in the description somewhere and link back to the original where you found it. So in many cases, you have to properly accredit the creator. Now, the ones in this here, these were all made by my wife. So I actually, have the rights to them. It's not a big deal. But assets that, if you find one online, say on Sketchfab or something, you're going to upload it to the workshop, make sure it can be shared, and make sure that that it is, properly accredited. Otherwise, I wouldn't be uploading assets you don't own the rights to. It is definitely a no-no, and you can get in trouble. Your Steam account can get shut down for copyright issues. Can you answer Julia over on YouTube with Asmodeus's answer there? Or Asmo, can you pop over to YouTube and kind of guide her? But if you're using Blender, first off, there's an extension, a module you can get that is made by a creator in our community that helps kind of speed up the process for importing assets to DA. It puts them in the right orientation and a whole bunch of stuff, proper configurations. And then also one other thing he just said is any texture you apply in Blender must be an image texture applied via Principled BDSF node. And then the add-on is Night Vision's BDA add-on. Asmodeus is the person I am asking to come chat with you. He's one of our moderators. He'll assist. He's actually not only a moderator, but one of the most prolific asset creators and sharers in our community. And he works for Pixar, so he knows quite a bit about this stuff. If one of you, our moderators can share links on our various platforms. So if they could get that link, they can share it on YouTube. That'd be fantastic. So I got just absolutely eaten up by mosquitoes. Been doing some yard work. One of our solar cameras wasn't charging anymore because this time of year the sun doesn't hit it right where it's mounted. It's just under a patio thing and it just is not getting enough sun during the day. So I put a little added solar panel out on the sidewall that gets sun all the time, during the day. And it's fine now, but the mount to do that, I had to figure out a place for it and get it all properly mounted. It took 2 hours and I was out there just getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. And I think a couple of them gotten into our house as well recently. And they've just been feasting on me as I sleep. Night Vision's BDA add-on. Yeah. Yep. Night Vision's BDA, I believe. Okay. Go find us another underground map. How about one that's mine? Don't mean to toot my own horn a little bit, but this is one of my favorite maps. Oh my gosh. So I am thinking of remaking the Dam Challenge gallery. First off, I need to update it and add a bunch of new rooms, at least, a dozen or so. But I'm going to make it multi-level. I want to do it after launch. Start, probably after I finish the cemetery or something. Anyway, on Mapmaker Monday, I'm building a map and it's this massive cemetery. It's 85 by 87. And I've just been packing in graves in this area we call the sardine can lately. And it's just tons of graves. Anyway, when I'm done with that one, I would probably build the Dam Challenge gallery, which features maps that have won in our bi-weekly map making contest, which we call the Dam Challenge. So there's been close to 100 wins now, and it's very hard to put them in a single map because it gets so massive and not everyone can go check it out. So I think I'm going to put them in a new multi-level map that'll have like, you know, instead of being massive single story, it'll be, you know, probably 5 stories high or something like that. Anyway, it'll be really cool because there'll be like stairs going up to upper levels. It'll feel kind of like a multi-level library, or, you know, when you go to a really cool museum and there's like all these different areas to go to. Anyway. But yeah, Julia, I highly recommend hopping in our Discord. That's one of the best places to get support when the stream isn't live. And also, you can, you know, share images and video and spin up a support thread there, and we can track your issue and people can jump in and, you know, provide their insight. The stream is a great place to do it, but it's kind of fractured because it's hard for everyone to share links and images and video and stuff like that. Asmo, if you go to our main YouTube page, there's 2 streams that are live right now. One's widescreen traditional landscape, and the other one's vertical. So there's 2 different chats on YouTube right now. A little tricky. A little tricky. Anyway, so this map I built, you know, probably 2 years ago when our Everything is Lava update launched. And it's just a fun... Hey, Joseph, how you doing, buddy? Albums, what do you mean, Chim? You mean to like separate assets? You want to build one like this? Oh, you most definitely can. This is definitely plausible. This was done using the cave biome. I know because I made it. Cave biome that I set to solid rock, and then I carved out the space by hand using the cave tools. So there's carve cave, raise cave. Essentially allows you to carve out the space manually. So it's a solid like slab of rock. Imagine you're like a sculptor, and then you just get to carve out the cave space to your own desire instead of generating one that is pre-configured by the proc gen. So you can generate a tunnel system that's made with the proc gen, or you can have a solid rock one that allows you to make it yourself and sculpt it to your own kind of designs, which gives you a little bit more creativity, in my opinion. At the moment, Stefushi, I'm not building a map so much as I'm just kind of showcasing cool underground maps that are available on our Steam Workshop and teaching people how they were made. Today's topic on the stream is underground, though people are allowed to ask questions about anything related to Dungeon Alchemist. Our stream's always AMA format, so if you have any support inquiries, questions about what you're looking at, how to use it, what it can be used for, etc., feel free to ask away. Got a lot of people on YouTube today. Welcome all. Welcome all. But this map here is one I made probably 2 years ago. And it's actually a remaster of a map I made about 3-4 years ago. And it is a map I intended for a kind of homebrew campaign world that I was building, like a book that I kind of like half wrote and then kind of gave up on because I don't know why I do stuff like that. A remapster, yeah, right? I like to say mapster piece sometimes too. So the original map did ages and ages ago. It's this one. Artful Darkness, thank you for all the hearts. Much appreciated. But yeah, I made this like before I was the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. It was like one of the first maps I ever made. It was probably the third or fourth map I made. And I made this kind of out of spite to one of the moderators in our community, because I reached out to the mods in Discord and I was like, hey, how do I build a cave? Because there wasn't a cave biome at the time, right? There was no cave option other than just like rock, and you kind of made it yourself. So I asked, and they were like, oh, you can't make it. I think Dag said it's not possible. And so I was like, challenge accepted. So I just jumped on a map and played around with it for a while until I could figure it out, and ended up making it. So it took forever though, because back then a lot of the tools were slower and didn't offer abilities to really do this. So if you're trying to jump outside of the, you know, boundaries of ability in DA, it makes it a little bit trickier, but it's often still possible. Anyway, very old map. When I made this map, there wasn't rails, so I used hammers. If you look really closely, you're just hammers. Lots and but now there are rails, so I don't need them. I lost a little bit of my sanity building these rails, by the way. Hundreds and hundreds of hammers. And then the upgrade. I remember when I was making this map, my wife was sitting next to me watching for a bit because she was interested in Dungeon Alchemist too. And we're just kind of toiling away, and I'm hammer, and just one after another. And like, this was before there was like things like the collision toggle, so it was very hard to get objects close to each other like that. It took me hours of like precision work to get it right. And then this rail system maybe took me 20 minutes to do using the rails that we have now. Anyway, I don't know if y'all know just from me talking, but caves and underground like maps, mine shafts, stuff like that, they're my favorite types of maps. Just I find them to be the most traditional dungeon grind, you know? More often than not, you're like in some kind of underground cavern or chasm or mine, or, you know what I mean? That just was what it reminded me of, at least in my youth. But that being said, I'm open to suggestions of other cool underground maps. So if anyone has a suggestion of maybe one of their own maps that's on the workshop, or you know of one that's cool, let me know. Let's pull some up. Oh. Hmm. Oh, yeah, that goblin sword with the buzz saws is pretty cool. I still checked it out recently. A week or I think it's just newer. Sewer. Where are you? I think this is it. In a moment. Sometimes Steam is very quick, sometimes it's very slow. You can see it's only 87 megabytes worth of stuff, but every single item has to be downloaded individually, and it often takes sometimes up to a minute to initialize a new download. Oh, nice. In the Unity asset store? That's pretty cool. That's a cool use case for Dungeon Alchemist, actually. Like a very interesting one, to say the least. My leg is so bad. I can't. When the stream ends, I'm gonna cover all my mosquito bites with cortisone and just chill out, take a nap. Like killing me at the moment. Gosh. Yeah, this is the one with all the saw blades and stuff. There's all these little goblins on the map. They just kind of look like army men at the moment. These were uploaded as STLs, which STL, you can change the color of them to different like filter colors. And they chose green in this instance, which I love. Is that kind of... Wish we had a tan one that was the opposite of these, like the desert tan. You could do. I guess that works enough. Anyway. Riveting chat in landscape YouTube, right? There's a lot going on over there at the moment. They're busy. Oh my goodness. I am excited for the update to come out, and I know a lot of you are very eager as well. Let's talk about the update for a minute while we're looking at this map, and just humor me if you will. I know earlier I asked Sack what feature he's most excited for, but what are you all uploading? Or like, what are you not uploading? What are you most excited for in the next update? Sorry, I was looking at what Chim was saying and I saw the uploaded and I read that and my brain froze and I said that instead. So when you upload as an STL, the color is just a flat gray. There's no like detail because there's no texture. You can change it to a solid flat color and that's it. There's no painting it inside of DA other than this. So if it's uploaded as an STL, you can give it a solid flat color. This can be useful in some cases, especially if it's something like a towel or a blanket or something that you want a bunch of colors for, a rug, and you don't mind if it's just a flat color. So when you make a token and upload it, if you want a full color or an animated token, you'll want to upload it as a FBX or a GLTF/GLB. But if it's STL, you can just upload it and it gives you a bunch of color options, which you could use as like status effects or to quickly distinguish a bunch of similar tokens. Those aren't thumbs. They look like spikes on there. Gotcha, Julia. Well, I appreciate you researching all this stuff, and like, take your time. No rush. We'll be here till, for another 40 minutes at least. I think this is one of my favorite parts right here, like the pipe with the water just running into like an errant grate. Ah, Meshy's interesting. I've used Meshy to like, what is it? The word that odious. To shrink the size. I basically remove the surfaces. So what is that called, Asmodeus? I can't remember. But it essentially makes it much smaller. Instead of it being like tons of polygons, it's much fewer polygons, so the detail goes down. But it also essentially makes it much smaller and easier to download or upload. Gosh, I can't remember the word for some reason. I think it starts with D something. I don't know. Decimate, maybe. Is that what it is? Decimate it? I feel like that's right, but it also sounds like something in a battle. Decimate. But like we were talking about the STL tokens. Do I use ZBrush? Or are you asking Asmodeus? Gotcha. I'll quit interfering with y'all's convo because y'all seem to get it sorted. But this map is brilliant set of encounters, really well designed, lots of interesting shaped rooms and structures, interactive spaces and clues and secret passages. Fun little map to drag your players through, especially if try and put them through quite a bit, so to speak. Little footprints here, which will be very easy to do after the next update with the decal tool. Decal tool is going to be amazing. Take a look at it really quick. The decal tool, you'll be able to add images of neat little interactive kind of decals, so to speak. But in this case, you notice there are cracks and scratches, tally marks, spider webs. But if you look at the menu, you'll see there's like explosion pock marks, there's like footprints, there's leaves, there's like all sorts of different snow, dust, moss, rock paths. So you could do all sorts of things to kind of mix up the environment and make it kind of less repetitive or more original looking. This will definitely be in the next update, and it's very cool. At least for sure, I'm under the impression it's going to be in the... For now, I'm under the impression it's going to be in the... Or at least the first portion. That treasure pit. Scrooge McDuck would be eager to dive in there. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, trains, and aeroplanes. It's a Duckler. I was raised on way too much 80s and 90s cartoons. A bit of a latchkey kid. Can't tell. Like the abstracts here. Decided about 5 floors up, 5 floors down. Gonna be some people in our community trying to get every inch of that out of every map. You said I had 10 floors, I'm gonna use 10 floors. Hey. Cat should fit, but he doesn't. Cat. Darn it. No! I made him small enough. We're going for a broke here. Badge. I fell in the water immediately. As far as I've seen, Volkihar, it only generates 1 floor at a time. So just like you generate a room at a time with DA, you would generate the first level of rooms, right? And then you press the plus button on your keyboard or the up button on the new UI over here. And then it jumps up to the next floor where you can start adding the next set of rooms above, or a whole just solid floor, or just a flat roof or an angled roof. At that point, once you've jumped up a level, you can decide how you're going to approach it. Just add new rooms with the room tool or play with the roofing. Currently, can you generate an entire floor plan of a home all at once? You can only generate it a room at a time, right? That's how it's going to be the same as it is now, just with multi-level. I think something like that would probably be more in line with an instant dungeon type generation, where it does everything in a single click. I imagine instant dungeon would probably start, considering configuring multi-level structures as part of it, because you'd want some that are single level, some that are multi. I think that would be more in line with the instant dungeon update, if at all. That is something we definitely have to consider, because, people may want a whole town or a city instead of just a dungeon. Anyway. But yeah, it won't generate a 3-story mansion all at once. You generate the base floor of the mansion, right? At which point you can decide, hey, am I going to add a cellar or a downstairs or whatever? You can go down and add things. You can go up and add things. And you added a floor at a time. But the benefit of building in this way is it's going to be so easy to tell how aligned your structures are with each other. The floor plans up and down will be very perfectly aligned. And then, if you use like a virtual tabletop, if one of your players finds, a hatch or a ladder or a staircase they want to go up or down, you can use a module like Monk's active tiles or levels or whatever to automatically jump to the next scene, which is the new floor. Every floor on your map will export as its own separate scene, i.e. the basements and lower levels will all be their own maps each level, and then the upper floor, same thing. It's going to be actually very, very kind of intuitive, straightforward, and work with as many systems simultaneously as possible. If you're printing, you would just print each floor and then kind of have them laid on top of each other, and then if they go into a new level, pull back that layer. Or, they start in the bottom, then lay the new floors on top as they go up. If you're using a virtual tabletop, you would essentially, each floor would be its own scene, allowing you to jump from scene to scene when they transition into a new space. Honestly, at this point, I've not heard any discussions as to whether this will happen for sure, generating entire mansions, multi-level structures simultaneously. I'd imagine, though, that if we do address it, it would be in the instant dungeon update, which makes sense, but like I said, it's a speculation. Thank you, Atlam, for kind of bringing that up, too. Want to make sure that it's, like, definitely, understood. Hey, Zach, you still here? In fact, I got a little spoiler for some y'all. Y'all want to see a cool, little, neat new updates very soon, Eternal Rep. It's the Fun with Objects updates being broken into 2 parts. Fun with Objects 1 and Fun with Objects 2. Fun with Objects 1 should be launching in July. That's the anticipation at the moment. Look very carefully at this and tell me what you see. Zach. Or anyone really watching. Thank you, Eternal Reps. I appreciate that. I love DA too. A little biased though, as they sign my checks. No, Zach. Save changes. What? That's already in the menu. You're a dork. This right here. Block exterior. I know you're trolling me. You have to be. Block exterior lighting. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, you are yanking my chain. So you'll be able to block exterior lighting from your buildings now. Before, prior to this update, the lighting from the external light from like the sun would bleed over the edge of the walls and catch and objects and make shadows off of them. And a lot of people found that would break immersion. Some people could care less. Many people have learned to live with it, but it's finally going to be blocked. It's not Fog of War, Eternal Reps. It's essentially just will now make sure that the light from external sources no longer leaks in unless it's through a window. Does that make sense? Yeah, that kind of works, but the problem is when you put it up into like high noon mode, then the sun is so bright on like metal and water and shiny objects, it makes it like blinding at certain angles. Yeah, the new grid feature is actually really cool. Here, let me throw that one on really quick. Stand by. Honestly, I mean, there's some people that'll just go for the biggest, best graphics card. I don't think that's really necessary unless you plan to do some intense gaming on your computer. Got me. My file export. Stand by. Here it is. But I don't know if you can see here, but essentially in this video, it showcases that there is the grid will no longer kind of be partially obscured if you don't want it to be, which is, as I say in the video, a more traditional view. A lot of people have wanted this for a long time because they feel it breaks immersion when some of the objects aren't covered, or it makes it hard for their players to discern where they're supposed to stand, etc. So this will help a lot. See, I've got a 4070 and I think it's fine. I mean, I as much as I would love like a 50 series, they're insanely huge, power hogs. They sag your motherboard and can cause problems. I think it's smart to just go with what is within your budget, but also just covers your base needs. If you're playing mostly, older games, not necessarily newer games, and things like DA, I would recommend probably like a 3000 or 4000 series NVIDIA. You could probably even get like a newer AMD series card, 6 or 7 series for reasonable. But the thing is we're graphics cards, brothers. Hey, graphics card, brother. You gonna want to play the new remaster or the original? It's very hard to find and I think you should leave fan in the wild these days unless you're like on Reddit. I hope you knew what my reference was, and I thought your reference was to that. So let's just hope that's the case. If not, it was a great fun joke still. Map is dope, but we're gonna go find another one. Back to the workshop. Check out this one. Forbidden Cistern. Honestly, though, like it makes sense to go with a lot of RAM. If it were me in your case, building a new computer, if you can just do like an SSD for your boot and your OS. An SSD where you have all your operating system on, and then you just kind of keep that for your base software and stuff like that. But then you have a secondary drive that's either a hard drive or another SSD that acts as where you put like all of your data, right? Like I install all of my games on a different drive than my main drive where my OS is, and it keeps it running really smooth. My computer boots up in like under like 20 seconds, usually tops. Very quick boot with an SSD. RAM is really important with Dungeon Alchemist and most modern games and software. See, I have two SSDs, one that's just all the software and games, apps that I run, and then backups of some files. And then the other one, the main one, is just my OS for the most part. Like, it's very basic and bare. Highland Lass, I'm running a 4070 as well right now, and I'm fine with it. Like, I've been playing Dune Awakening, which is a brand new game, runs perfectly fine on my computer. I'm just going to throw it out there. I do think the 4080 will cost significantly more. You could save the money, probably. 32 gigabytes of RAM. If you could up to 64, I'd recommend it. You'll notice a big, big improvement in your run speeds and your map sizes in DA with more RAM. Until we unlock multi-core, that's going to be one of the easiest ways to get an improvement is through RAM or a graphics card. I'm not like a PC expert, I would say. There's definitely people way smarter than me, okay? But I did work for years building computers, both for myself, my friends, family, and then also professionally at Best Buy and the Geek Squad. I was literally part of the Geek Squad when they started it there, and I did it for years and years and years. Now, some of the Geek Squad reps are less than reputable, but I felt like I did a really good job there. That being said, I'm out of the game. I haven't done it in years other than my own couple computers in my house. Like I built every computer in my home, my son's, my wife's, my stream PC and my game PC. I also I built my buddy Steven's computer a few years back. He was building it himself and he accidentally bumped the pins on his CPU and bent a bunch of them, and he was like stressed out and worried he'd ruined it. And so we sat down together and we fixed the pins. I had him, like, I was looking at him under a magnifying glass and bent them all back into place, and then put his computer together, fixed it, and it worked for a long while. I think he's got a different one now because that was like 5 years ago. So I'll tell you right now, Highland Lass, I do pretty much all of the same stuff. I do some gaming, but it's more like probably more advanced in modern games. I do DA, I do video editing, right? I do some 3D modeling, okay? I do streaming, obviously, and recording. I do screen recording with one computer. Recording's all done on one machine, and streaming's all done on another machine. But if you have a powerful enough machine like that, you could stream and game on the same machine. I just do it with two, so I have the ability to open the largest, most craziest maps in our workshop without, it crashing. But you could even be able to stream or record your build sessions all on the same machine with very little issue. As long as you kind of find a balance for the settings. for your stream. Speaking of streams, if any of y'all have questions about your own streams, your content creation, feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to assist. Got like years and years and years and years and years of experience with both streaming and content creation. So love to assist those in our community where I can, if I can. So, I mean, this is on, let's see here. I'm on medium quality, right? Typically run on medium or high, and it's 40 by 40 map, but it's like a crazy detailed map with tons of animated assets. Like, there's a lot going on in this build, and I'm jugging, you know? Doing pretty good. It looks pretty good, at least. I use a lot of RAM, and I think it's mainly tied to when a map has a lot of assets in it from the workshop, they load into the RAM first. CPU, yeah, I use a decent amount, but if you're getting a new motherboard, you'll be getting a reasonable new CPU. Let me know what CPU and motherboard you end up looking at too. That stuff's important. Very important. Because you want one that A, is not only, you know, good enough for what you're putting in it, but gives you some room to upgrade later if you want to. Or maybe, you know, upgrade. Most motherboards are, but some of them, like, it could be an older generation or, you know, something a little bit older that may not have the capacity to do like next gen RAM or anything like that. What kind of power supply? How many watts is it? What's the motherboard model number? And how, let's see here. What else did I? Motherboard, and then yeah, motherboard, power supply, and then if you can find out, like which Windows are they loading on it for you too? Windows 10 support ends in like 4 months, so probably want to do Windows 11. Sadly, that's kind of the time now. Honestly, I can't say for sure if we'll ever get Fog of War Eternal Reps. There's some speak of it, but I haven't seen it in action, and it could be a long while. We'd probably be outside of early access before we had anything like that. Yeah, power supply is very important. Halali, correct. I honestly usually get far above what I imagine I'm going to use when it comes to a power supply. Power supply is the driving force behind, you know, the entire computer. If you don't have an adequate power supply, your graphics card mainly will struggle, and you may have, you know, artifacts, or it may, you know, crash occasionally or shut down. But the big thing is that graphics card is going to eat up a lot of power, so the power supply needs to be adequate to support it, the motherboard, everything else you have going on. Can you send those specs to me in DM on Discord so I have a place that I can look at them later too? Because I want to look at it online if I have some time, just to see the motherboard and what's on it, how much room it has to upgrade. 1000 watts seems reasonable for, you know, a 4070, so you should be fine. Though, I mean, it wouldn't be unreasonable to jump up to like a 1200 watt. And you want to make sure too that he's not doing like you want to be using the correct kind of power plug, not an adapter. Like a lot of those graphics cards, they have a very specific power plug that it's like a new added power plug that's just for these new graphics cards. And you want to use that power cable because it's the less likely to short out or melt or have problems. Often people will use like a traditional you know, PCIe Express or whatever, two of them, and then run an adapter from it, or just plug in the two. Anyway, from my experience, from what I've read on Reddit, seen on TikTok, a lot of people are not using the correct plug, and it ends up, or they're not having enough wattage, and it ends up, you know, frying either their graphics card or their power supply. Yeah, the suggestion channel is linked to our Upvote, which is a website where we host our suggestion board and our roadmap. So if you go to Upvote, you can see kind of what we've updated in the past, what we're planning on adding next, what we have planned for the future, and then you can see community suggestions under requests, suggestions. These feature requests, currently sorted by, you know, highest to lowest. This is the highest requested multi-level with roofs, and that's going to be added in the next update. Second highest, circular round rooms. We finished that in the last update. We wanted to get that right before we jumped into multi-level. But yeah, the suggestion channel essentially shows all the suggestions that have been made here, and it automatically like puts it over there, like a web hooks it into our Discord. So you can come here and see all the ones from the past, or, you know, the ones we're currently working on, and then make your own suggestions. Though I highly recommend looking to see if one already exists before you add one. Search a couple of times, maybe different variations. That way, you know, we don't get duplicates. A lot of times we have duplicates and we have to merge them together. Takes a significant amount of time. Anyway, I have to go through like once every 3 months and merge like hundreds of suggestions. So please do me a favor and make sure the suggestion isn't there. Okay. But anyway, Upvote, great place to hang out. Can you share that link over on YouTube, the Upvote? And I just, you know, tossed it up in our Which. Anyway. Thank you. Good underground map. Forbidden Cistern. I definitely wouldn't want to have cistern water where there's a bunch of like dead bodies, and like it's essentially a catacomb and a cistern all at once, but you don't want to drink the water from down there. No. I don't know. If anything, Indiana Jones taught me that when you're in the catacombs, the water is like flammable. Like methane filled. The height map, do you mean like the topography? You're talking about. So New Mass Feliz over on YouTube asked, when will we have Darkness Fog to play RPG? So Dungeon Alchemist, I'm just going to point out before we dive into this, Dungeon Alchemist first and foremost is a map making tool, okay? Its primary purpose is to make maps, not to run games. If you are running a game in it, nothing against it. It's very possible, given some of the tools and utilities available, especially if you're running like a local in-person game, like on a TV tabletop. Fog of War isn't something that we'll likely be adding in Dungeon Alchemist until we leave early access. There's been discussions from the devs to do something like a limited basic Fog of War, to help with our TV tabletop, you know, players who play in person on like a projector or TV at home. That way you'd have some limited Fog of War. In the interim, though, I do recommend exporting maps if you need Fog of War. Export our maps and use a virtual tabletop, such as Foundry, Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, Above VTT. There's several dozen options out there now that are compatible with Dungeon Alchemist directly. And all of them have Fog of War in them. A virtual tabletop software is intended to kind of pair with Dungeon Alchemist, kind of like peanut butter and chocolate or whatever. They're a really good pairing. And when you export a map from DA and put it into a virtual tabletop, you have line of sight and Fog of War and things like that. You can even still use a virtual tabletop software on TV tabletops and projector tabletops for home play. Ah, so you use dynamic dungeons. Interesting. Gotcha. I've been actually working with our devs to try and get a direct or dynamic dungeons export. And the thing about dynamic dungeons is it is a virtual tabletop. It's an interactive tabletop software designed for localized play, or, you know, playing in person. I'm assuming that's what you do. Do you use a TV or a projector by chance? I'm just kind of guessing based on what you're telling me, though. I don't think we offer an export option like that, Julia. That is an interesting idea, though. So, Noob, some suggestions in your situation if you are using a TV tabletop, because that's what I'm assuming just based on dynamic dungeons alone. It's usually meant for localized play. I would recommend using, you know, local options like a real something textile to make your Fog of War. A few suggestions that I've seen and seen images of and video of, and people have told me of in our community. One is just a simple, very simple approach: a black sheet. You can pull one out of the closet if you have one, you know, or a towel or something, and you cover a portion of the table and then reveal it as they go. That's one option. The other is if you're in the top down and you've turned off, let's say, first off, you turn on the grid, right? And you've turned off the UI, which I recommend for TV tabletop play. You're now kind of in the overhead version of the map, right? You can then only reveal to your players just what will be seen by them with their vision cones. So if your players have, you know, 100 feet of dark vision, for instance, you just kind of give them this portion. And as they move up here, you would reveal over here and then up this way a little bit for them. I know that's a pain. And pro tip, try to find the space, the like size you want, and don't zoom in and out anymore. That way you're not accidentally revealing areas to them. Other things I've seen used to great effect: someone took the like cotton that's used for like stuffing a pillow or making those like spider webs outside your home on Halloween, right? They took that and they'd cover different areas of the map like clouds, and then they just pull back the cloud like a Fog of War and reveal it when they wanted to reveal that area. Another thing people have done is actually make little cutouts of roofing from using construction paper. Like they bought some brown construction paper, black construction paper, and drew some shingles on it and then cut it into like a roof shape, and then they put it on top of the houses and then they peel that back if they go inside. Lastly, I mean, it's an immersion thing, Bane. I think a lot of DMs bend over backwards for their players for sure. I do appreciate the amount of effort that they put into it, both as a player and as a DM. I think it can go a long way, you know. But anyway, the other thing that you can do within Dungeon Alchemist right now until we have Fog of War is if you go to this object menu, click abstracts, right? Under the abstract menu, you got all these green objects, right? This one here, the large customizable plane, is my favorite. I'm going to disable collisions. I'm going to raise it up a little bit so it's above the objects here. and then I'm going to scale it up higher so it's over everything, right? Let's just cover this whole kind of section. Give you an idea. So because collisions are off, I can scale it way beyond its normal size. And then you can just pick a color black to cover that if you wanted to. Or if you wanted it a solid black, you can insert like a solid black image. Makes it even darker. These abstracts are really cool because you can insert all kinds of images into them and make custom like overlays, decals for your maps. So maybe you want to add some blood or a magic circle or whatever. Hey, Echo, how you doing? Welcome to the chat, by the way. So this is kind of a manual way to do it, Feliz. Notice there, it's still under there, and you can just, as the DM, delete this object when they get to that area, and then it's all revealed, right? Yep, delete to unhide it. You got it, my man. Another thing you're gonna like in our next update, New Master. I think the thing is a lot of people play in person and they love the 3D nature of DA and being able to zoom into the maps and kind of change things on the fly, right? Delete things, move things, open doors. That level of interactivity inside of DA is hard to match. I really hope someday we kind of make our own virtual tabletop that is like directly compatible with DA, that gives you the most use and function of our maps. Anyway. Oh, I'm sorry. If I'm talking too fast, let me know, my friend. I want to make sure that whatever I'm saying, Feliz, is understood by you. You know what I mean? Here, check this out. In our next update, you'll be able to put the grid on top of everything. What were you going to ask about, Echo? Ask away. I want to make sure I get your question right, so just feel free to drop it in chat. Plenty people do it already. Many different virtual tabletops are compatible with DA. One thing that you can look into, I'm assuming you're like an indie dev or something, you're trying to make your own tool. One of the export formats we use that a lot of people out there that making their own virtual tabletops are using Universal VTT. It's UVTT or DDVTT2. It's made by, who is it? Not Dynamic Dungeons. Dungeon Draft, I believe, invented this format as a way to kind of universalize all the virtual tabletop platforms out there, because they kind of all have their own thing. Foundry has images and video mixed with a JSON file, right? Fantasy Grounds has images and video mixed with an XML file. Roll20 has images and video mixed with a script. So they're all kind of their own thing, whereas UVTT is a universal format that's used across like 40 or more different virtual tabletops now. The downside of UVTT at this point in time, though, is it currently does not support animated maps. So it is limited into only still maps, which is kind of a bummer. I'm not going to lie. And by the way, Echo, if you are in our Discord, I would recommend it if you're not already. You can spin up a thread in our support forum, ask questions related to it, and our devs might even hop in and answer your questions there and like provide you insight. The thing is, and same with you, Julia, We've had people come in and they're like, hey, I want to make a module that, you know, works with Dungeon Alchemist to does XYZ and then throw it on GitHub. Can I do that? There's been a couple of people that have done it and the devs love it. They are kind of that indie devs, support other devs mindset. They use Git all the time. They definitely love supporting other people like that if they're supporting us. Well, Elise, that's awesome. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear it. Man, that just reminded me of a map I found on the workshop yesterday. Straight up amazing map. So you said Baldur's Gate or Baldur's style. This map here is almost a perfect like replication of the Goblin Camp from Baldur's Gate 3. Made entirely in Dungeon Alchemist. It's also funny you say that because we have a very good relationship with the people over at Larian. Put water in here, probably because it deleted all their rocks. They didn't want to do it again. Watch. Water has this nasty habit of destroying things. Yep. Or filling up too high. Went up way higher than they wanted it. So smart. The ice works. There's some running water assets on the workshop that could go over this to kind of make it look like water. Anyway, otherwise though, it is essentially the Goblin Camp from Baldur's Gate 3. Got the entry. Main camp area. So I will tell you this though, Echo, is one thing they are very protective of is our assets. They may be a little leery about someone, you know, extracting or finding a way to pull the assets from DA and use them in, you know, some sort of public fashion or resale fashion. That's part of the reason we don't offer 3D export is because we're really protective of our IP and all the work gone into the assets we've made. We have, you know, a very talented team of assets, but it's, you know, 4 or 5 people working, making every asset in this menu from scratch. So, you know, we essentially kind of are worried about that getting out into the open where people could just essentially reuse it without properly crediting us or licensing it properly. That being said, we do offer commercial licensing options for Dungeon Alchemist if you're looking for something to that degree where you're, you know, pulling the assets out and using them in, you know, your own kind of development or whatever. It's something we'd have to talk about in detail. If that's something you're kind of looking into, you can reach out to me on our Discord and then we can start from there. Do I need a 6th one? We're not currently hiring at the moment, but I do appreciate you asking. We, I mean, essentially, we kind of have a lean team, and that allows us to kind of continue doing what we're doing without going insolvent or worried about money issues, right? On our team, there is like 3.5 devs, right? We have some artists that make assets, and then we also have artists that build effects. One artist that builds effects, and then several artists that build the assets. And like the animations for them. But essentially the team, like Carl is our lead developer, one of the creators of Dungeon Alchemist. Wim, the guy who kind of conceptualized Dungeon Alchemist, he does some development, but primarily he's our lead artist. Okay, and then we have let's see here. So Pieter is another one of our devs, and Quentin is a dev. Kenny is a kind of technical artist. He does these effects. And then we have, let's see here, trying to remember everyone's name offhand. Sorry, I don't get to talk to them all the time. And then I also only know them from their online names. Stand by 1 second. So we have Magdalena, right? And Aiko. And then Wim and Kenny. That's our art team right now. It's a pretty lean art team at the moment. We did have another person on our art team, but she stepped away for personal reasons. Anyway. I'm the community team, an army of one, I like to say. I manage myself. Yeah, I'm the one that posted them, silly. You'd think I'd remember everyone's name, but I don't talk to them every day. Our team is all remote, so sometimes I go months without interacting with a couple of the people on the team. Other times I talk to people every day, you know? Anyway, I just had to look at their names and remember. But yeah. The intros were from the mind of Mac. I kind of wanted to put faces to our team, so everyone kind of realized there's people behind it. But yeah, I think they did a really good job recreating the Goblin Camp from Baldur's Gate in Dungeon Alchemist. Definitely want the devs to see this. I think they'd like it, and they'd probably send it over to the Larian guys, and Larian would be like, what? So when Baldur's Gate was still like early access, our team was at a convention in Belgium, and then they were there as well, and they saw our booth and came up, and they thought Dungeon Alchemist was so cool, and they spent like an hour making maps with it and asking questions, and then they ended up kind of becoming homies. And every once in a while our lead dev and lead artist will go over and hang out and get a tour and get to see what they're working on. Might have even been consultants for them, who knows, really, for like map generation tools or something, licensing. Anyway, I'm only speculating to a degree here because I don't know exactly what they're talking about when they're there, and they told me they're under NDA, so who knows. Anyway, very neat relationship we have with the team over at Larian. Not to name drop or anything, I just think it's cool when you have, you know, cooperation and also just like homies in the industry. Because it is a very competitive industry, so it's just nice to see people who are like, hey, let's be friends. Anyway. So any Baldur's Gate fans recognize this map? Does it look pretty close to the Goblin Camp from the game? I honestly think it's like almost a 1-to-1. Very well done. I just love that someone was able to build this whole thing in Dungeon Alchemist. It's mind-blowing. All right, everyone, guess what? I got some bad news. First bit of bad news is the stream has got to wrap up because we are now 10 past the hour, so it's time to wrap it up. End today's... It is on the marketplace. Here, let me grab the link really quick. Sound good? It is titled Baldur's Gate 3 Goblin Camp Exterior. So you could just search Goblin Camp, probably find it, or Baldur's Gate. Workshop, marketplace, same thing. I knew what he meant. Technically, people can monetize their works on the Steam Workshop. So it can act as a marketplace. You can monetize your assets that you make and put them up for sale, so somebody would have to pay for it to get at it. Anyway, or maps too. But you have to like link some kind of payment account and verify your identity and stuff to do that with Steam. It's something Steam does, not something we do. Anyway. I don't think many people take advantage of their marketplace. That really only for selling like knives and Counter-Strike. Okay. We got that link there for the map. First bit of bad news is that the stream is ending, right? For the day. Not forever, just for today. The second bit of bad news is next Wednesday's stream, the office hours stream that we host in Discord every Wednesday, is unfortunately canceled. Oh, they made another one too? Cool, good to know. Didn't know that. So every Wednesday we host a stream in our Discord that's a Discord exclusive stream because they're not included in our multi-streams. Right now we're live on Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Steam simultaneously. But unfortunately, Discord doesn't support multi-streaming. So every Wednesday, that's where we hang out. But this Wednesday, my wife has her annual checkup with her rheumatologist. So it's an appointment we cannot miss because it's once a year, very important for her to get her, medications refilled and stuff for the year. So we cannot miss it. I forgot that it was upcoming actually, because for some reason the calendar got messed up or deleted for it. But I got a reminder text from them just recently. I was like, oh, we do have that appointment. Anyway. So I will be back Monday though, for sure. Monday with Map Maker Monday will be happening. Let's open up what we're working on right now on Map Maker Monday. I wish I was making more progress on this, but when you only do like 30 minutes, an hour a week, it does only get a little bit done at a time, because we spend a lot of the time of the stream chatting, discussing people's campaigns, providing support, showing, teasers from the upcoming update. So we don't always spend time working on it. But yeah, I will be live Monday, just this upcoming Wednesday, the 25th, there will be no stream, just to reiterate that. So this map here is the Ancient Cemetery, and it is quite a bit of work. The size of the map is 85 by 87. And a lot of this work has been done by hand, pretty much all of it. I started over in this corner here where there's like an entryway and a little pond, and then made the road by hand using the terrain tool. I wanted a wide road that wagons, carrying the dead could come in and still have room for a passing wagon, essentially. And then these graves here are kind of considered more like medium graves. I'm not really happy with the amount of crosses because it's kind of like a fantasy setting wouldn't have Christianity, I don't think. So I might change some of these grave markers and mix it up a bit. But for now, that's what we've got here. And then this is more of a private, kind of like a royal grave plot. Fenced off. Got nice, plants and mausoleums and all sorts of different graves that are a lot fancier. Over here, we have the chapel, so to speak, where all of the funerals are held. Made a 3-story bell tower by hand, using just objects for everything above the second level or higher. So it's possible to do multi-level right now, but you got to disable collisions and then use structural objects such as the freestanding walls and raise them up and kind of snap them into new frames at the higher points. Anyway, so this little chapel here, beautiful garden wrapped around it that I built by hand, paved by hand. Took some time, but I think it looks great, you know? Fountains, gazebos, seating areas, and then back here is their burial space for where they bury their, priests and nuns or whatever, or paladins and clerics that have served with their clergy over the generations, because this is an ancient cemetery, so it's probably been hundreds of thousands of years. Next, I kind of laid out all these roads and hedges, and then I put this area over here, which is the caretaker's cottage. It is the caretaker manages the property, helps, water all the plants, trim all the plants, dig graves, just help keep things clean. And he lives on site to kind of keep an eye on things, to make sure there's no grave robbers, but also is always present. But this is his personal property where he's got his own kind of garden, a bit of a green thumb, but also some workspaces close to the gate so he can get in and out with equipment. He has his little it's not a menagerie, I guess, but a greenhouse of all his like plants from faraway lands and other realms, so to speak, and he keeps them in here to keep them safe and keep people safe from them. Like these fey plants might be dangerous or poisonous. These desert plants need to be in a biome to keep them safe. Private collection, so to speak. Yeah, it's his private greenhouse with his collection of plants. Some might be poisonous, and dangerous. Some might even be illegal, who knows? But he's got his bonsai, a dryad over here, right? Over here we've got the various mandrakes. And then if you follow the path, there's a path all the way around his house, and in the back is another plant, a little snapdragon kind of thing going on here. Venus flytrap, sorry, not a snap. And then back here, he's got like a shed, storage areas, hedges around the property make it more private and stuff. Right here is a little hatch, because people are saying, oh, he's probably a necromancer or up to no good. So there's a little hatch under this pile of manure. So it's secret and kept hidden, out of sight from prying eyes. I think I need to put something there, though, to block that fence. People could see through it. So I'm thinking either hedges or some ivy, something like this. Put some on both sides of it, snap it into there. Disable collisions so I can... And that would give it some privacy, this area. Probably do that on Monday. Anyway, but I've been working on this quite a while now, just one day a week for about an hour a week, a half hour a week. And right now we are over in this corner, which we've been calling the sardine can, because it's pauper graves. The less fortunate, people who didn't have a lot of wealth or property when they died, so they couldn't afford like a big plot or a proper burial or funeral. Now, in this culture, this society, everyone's afforded a proper grave site. So when someone dies, they give them a grave, but someone in their family, friends, co-workers, whatever, has to dig the grave and bury them. Or they have to pay someone to do it, right? So some of the graves are more like primitive vertical graves. Some of them are columbariums, where it's like just an item to remember them by. And others are just kind of packed in, very primitive graves. Yeah, the hedges are great. I'm definitely going to be adding hedges to a lot of this later on. It's just such a time-consuming detail that's more of like a finish work. I consider it finish work, you know what I mean? Like the work you do when you're wrapping up the build to make it look like lived in and detailed. But yeah, coming up with like hundreds of unique grave markers and interesting grave markers has been the challenge. Been using a lot of different items to kind of fill the void. Some things like this is like to signify that they were like a couple married or something like that. Sometimes we'll do like a boat to maybe signify that they were a sailor, or an item to show they were a warrior. Yeah, the detail aspect is what takes a lot of time, but I like doing it too. I'm not going to do any more columbariums past this point, though. It's all going to be graves all the way down. Once the sardine can's all packed, it's going to be a little bit different. I think I was going to put a little park here. Not necessarily like a play park, but like seating areas, flowers, a gazebo, fountain, something to kind of chill out. And then I was going to kind of space the graves out a little bit more in these areas. And then over here, I was going to do terraced graves. There'll be private plots that are fenced off, like that one over there, but they'll be raised up and like a staircase up to them. So it's like family plots, so to speak. Hey, SB Mohammed, thank you for the sub a few minutes back. Sorry, I didn't notice right away. By the way, everyone, if you enjoyed the stream today, I'm asking you a personal favor as the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. If you're not already following or subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do so. That way you can find us in the future for future streams, or you'll get notifications when we go live. Additionally, if you feel so inclined, if you could share the stream links or different channels, social media with your friends, family, like-minded DMs, players, etc., so they can check us out, would mean the world to me. As word of mouth is our primary form of advertising. We really don't get a big advertising budget, or we're not on like TV or anything like that, so we really have to we appreciate it when people let other people know about Dungeon Alchemist, especially with this big update coming out in the next month. It's a great time to be checking us out and kind of seeing what we're about, and maybe even investing in Dungeon Alchemist. Now, that being said, I appreciate everyone that was here today. I'm going to wrap up the stream, but before I do, I'm going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad. Gabby, there is not a release date, but we're likely looking at July at this point. Sometime in July. And the Fun with Objects update, it was so much content, we decided instead of delaying it till it was all done, which could have been closer to the end of the year, we decided to split it up into 2 parts. So the first part will be launching in July, and that'll include multi-level, roofing, invisible lighting, a whole batch exports, a whole bunch of features. And then the part 2 will include a bunch of other features. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Let's go ahead and pull up that ad, and then we will wrap it up. Appreciate you all being here, whether you were actively chatting, whether you were lurking, whether it's your first time or your 100th. Thank you for being here. Thank you, mods, for supporting on all the platforms, teaching people about the various ways to use Blender to import assets into Dungeon Alchemist, sharing links, just providing real-time support. You mods are legends. Thank you, thank you. We will be back on Monday with a stream called Map Maker Monday, where I'll be working on this map. That's kind of why we were talking about it as we wrapped up. So we'll be adding more graves down this way. I'm hoping to add in a ton. I was going to finish up these columbariums with objects and then just start graves all the way down as quick as possible. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. We're going to run that ad really quick. Cool. And it is a Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, so definitely not running an ad for some other thing. So please check it out. We are very proud of it. In fact, I wrote this ad. I am very, very proud of it.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Doyak Ta, and before
What do we see?
I don't know. A goblin.
I kill him.
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever. Find family. Kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive?
This map I have to the fabled realm of Goyak Tar. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.
All right, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here today, and we'll see you on Monday. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in. See you next time. I give a damn. Back out. Bye.